Today, on Be Something Wonderful, what you dwell on is where you exist and live in consciousness. I am your host, Tom Karen, and this is the Be Something Wonderful studio of Higher Consciousness, where we help you level up and become the best version of yourself. Creators, welcome back. I had a client yesterday that had gone through a really, what he described as a heartbreaking breakup. He was a lot of pain. He said there's a lot of hurt, a lot of regret, all of that. And he felt really stuck. And he said, Tom, I've been trying to desire my imagined end and what I really want. He goes, it just feels like my desires don't feel good to me. And it just feels like I shouldn't even be desiring it. So guys, I want to talk about this today and more. We had a pretty big breakthrough in terms of moving him from dwelling on that breakup, dwelling on the hurt, dwelling on the grievances, dwelling on what he imagined was the only past, was the only place to dwell in his mind. So I want to hit this today and more. The first thing I want to say is that all desires come from the divine desire to know yourself as source or as love or all that is. I hit this yesterday or the day before, but I really wanted to cover this today, that it's not your desires that don't feel good. Hear this. What doesn't feel good is that you don't feel connected to God or to that love or source. That's all that ever doesn't feel good. That's where all what we would call negative emotion comes from, or negative feelings. It's because you feel disconnected from your higher being, your inner being, your source or God, right? Remember, when we desire our imagined end, when we have a desire that we want something in 3D reality, remember, we already have it all. All realities exist. All possibilities exist that could ever, was, or ever be. And here's even bigger than that you exist within them and they exist within you. You're one with all of it. So there's nothing you could ever lack, right? It's a game of playing hide and seek with your higher self or with God, right? It's a game of tag, and God's tagged you and saying, you're it. What do you want now, right? To experience yourself as me, what do you want now? Wow, that's big. What do you want to remember? Because remember, Neville Goddard said it, creation's finished. So you're just remembering something that you've already is within you. You're re-experiencing it because it's already been written. The script has been written. It's already within you. Everything has already been created. You get to live it again in 3D. That's the game of tag. That's the game of life. So when you choose love or God, eternity, you can enjoy the game and play in the illusion or the waking dream in linear time. Remember, you're playing in linear time. Linear time doesn't exist. We made it up so we can play the game, so we can play tag with God, remember who we really are, right? You're in that waking dream. Everything is an illusion and everything's not an illusion. It's all consciousness, right? So you get to create in that illusion, in that dream, what do you want to experience now? But if you're dwelling on a past image, remember, all images are possible, but you're dwelling on one that hurts or what you feel hurts, right? Then remember, everything exists in consciousness. You are consciousness, so all memories exist within you, and you exist in all memories. So you're just whatever you're dwelling on, you're living there, right? Because remember, it all exists. So what do? When you have a desire, appreciate it immediately. Be grateful for that desire. Love your desire. Feel the love of that desire. That collapses time and space. That moves you immediately to that imagined end. It collapses time and space and it transcends it. Then you live in the miracle of who you really are. That's big. That's how I wanted to start off. Now let's get to this a little bit more. So this particular client said, my friends are telling me to stop dwelling on the past. And I get it. That's the 3D advice that we hand out quite a bit, right? But what does that really mean? right? What are we really getting at? So whenever you dwell on anything, people, events, conditions, or circumstances, in all of creation, right, in all of infinity, you're dwelling on the past, right? You're always dwelling on the past. Think of this. You're always, even when you're imagining the past, right? Because Neville said it, creation's finished. You're deciding what part of creation that you want to experience next. Do you want to experience that image that you're remembering where you were hurt? Or do you want to imagine your wish fulfilled, or something that you want next to experience in your reality? Whether it's a new relationship, or getting back with the other person, or really feeling love. What do you want to experience? So whether you're remembering past images, or imagining future images, or just staring at 3D conditions and either loving them or not loving them, all of it, that's where you exist in consciousness, in awareness. But remember, you exist everywhere. In consciousness, you are infinity. You're one with God. You're one with infinity, and those images exist with you. So the question is then, where does your focus? Where's your attention? Because that's where you're living in consciousness. You already exist everywhere in consciousness. The only question is, where are you living? That's why it was so powerful with one of my clients that I had several months ago now, that she used that idea that I don't live there anymore. Why? Because we live at all addresses in infinity. This really comes from reality transurfing as well. All realities exist. All addresses exist. And we're one with that. Remember that my Father and I are one, but my Father is greater than I. We exist in all of them within that first cause, within creation, within infinity. So the only question you're going to decide is not that you don't exist there. You certainly do exist in that past. But you exist in all paths, all realities. Creation's finished and you're a part of all of them. The only question is, where do you want to live now? In other words, what's your dwelling place in the eternal moment of now? Huge. So let's hit it a little bit more. Think of it this way. This is what we think reality's like, right? We're in this is our current dwelling place, or our current reality, right? We forget. Do you see these little dotted lines? We forget that actually all realities are within us. But we forget and we dwell here, and then we dwell on past things. And then we try to imagine our future things. But all of it, whenever you're either imagining the future or remembering, quote, the past, all of it is a fragment or a limited perception of all that you are. Because this is who you really are. And all of these realities, all of these possibilities exist within you, and you exist within them. Nothing's linear. It's all happening right now. Nothing's linear. So where do you choose to live, or where do you choose to exist? You exist in all of them. But where do you choose to live now? Just like my client said, okay, I know that all realities exist within me and I exist within all realities, but I don't live there anymore. Meaning, I know it exists, but I'm not going to live there anymore. Wow, that's big. You exist in all memories, in all realities, all addresses, in the one mind of God. And those memories and addresses exist within you. The question is, where do you live now? Where are you going to dwell? What's your dwelling place? Because that's what you get to decide. If you dwell here and know yourself as God, then you can play the game of life. You can play tag with God, right? You can play that game of hide and seek and imagine yourself here or here or here. It can be in a pet, but remember, when you're regretting the past, when you're thinking that someone hurt you, when you can't get over that, then you're dwelling here, right? Why not dwell where? Why not enjoy the waking dream, right? Enjoy it and dwell in places that make you, that where happiness is, where that joy is for you. Because remember, you are joy and happiness underneath it all. That's who you really are. But you're here to play a game of hide and seek, play a game of tag with God. So let's hit it a little bit more. There's no linear time. Everything is here and now. So if that's true, and it is, then regretting doesn't make sense. Regretting anything from the past, because remember, all addresses are already within you. Everything is within you. Regretting it only keeps you tied to that past image, only keeps you tied to that past reality. You start living at an address that exists within you. Do you hear that? They all exist within you. But where do you want to live? If you're regretting, you're living there. If you're resisting current 3D reality, you're living there. If you're fearing the future, you're living there. You're living in fear. Do you see it? Trying to heal the past, fix yourself, change current 3D conditions, and hoping of an improved future recreates that unwanted reality. You recreate it all. In other words, you relive it. It all exists within you. Creation's finished. You've just got to decide what part of creation do you want to remember now. What you think, feel, and believe is what you project, see, and perceive in 3D. Where you exist in consciousness, right? Where do you exist in consciousness? So what you think, feel, and believe is what you project, see, and perceive in 3D is where you live in consciousness. Or in other words, where you exist. You exist everywhere in consciousness. But where you live depends on what you think, feel, and believe. Wow. Hear this. It's all within you, and you are within it. So you decide where you're going to live, where you're going to dwell based on what you think, feel, and believe. That's what you project, see, and perceive in 3D. So you're trying to make changes where change is impossible. Do you hear this? When you're dwelling, when you're regretting, when you're resisting, when you're fearing, when you're imagining your wish fulfilled, but looking at all this other stuff, then you're trying to make a change where it's impossible. The 3D reality that you believe is out there. You're trying to make changes in something that feels separate from you. And it's impossible. Because if it's separate from you, then it's impossible to change. So let's hit this a little bit more. Before Abraham was I am. We've talked about this. And I said, well, it doesn't matter where the comma is. Before Abraham, comma, was I am, or before Abraham was, comma, I am, because really it's just before Abraham, I am. What does that really mean? Before history, before time and space, before the past, present, and future as we know it in linear time. Before, in other words, before linear time. Before creation, there's just I am, God now. There's just that present moment, that presence, that God presence, right? And it's all within there. Everything's contained within it. Everything's complete, right? So to collapse time and space means to transcend it completely, right? To let go of the belief that separation from God or all there is ever happened or was even ever possible. To believe that you could actually be hurt or be harmed or have a grievance with somebody, because that means you're believing in separation, right? True perception is the real power now, the one and only moment of creation, the eternal now, where yourself, as God, you exist with and as God, as that higher self, as their inner being. So let's hit this a little bit more. So Neville says it, creation is finished. Neville got it. Means all possible outcomes, all possible realities exist and have already happened. And what's more, they exist within you and you exist within them. There's no separation. It's all done. Whether you're dwelling on the past or thinking about the present or imagining the future, you are remembering the past. Wow. Do you hear this? Because creation's finished. So you're re-experiencing what's already happened, what's already done, right? The script is written. This is what the Course in Miracles says. And all the spiritual greats say this, right? In this very moment, think about this. You're watching the past now moment, right? You think you're in the now moment, you're the present reality, but it's really the past of some script that's already been written. Do you hear it? It's the past now moment in a script that's already been written. Or as you imagine your wish already fulfilled, you're viewing the future past of a script that is written. Do you see this? The script's already written. But for you, it's like you're going to experience it again for the first time, right? Or when you're dwelling, as my client was dwelling on the grievance, was dwelling on the past, the breakup. Now you're in the past. Right? Now you're watching the past. A script that has already been written and that's already passed because creation's finished, but also a past that you feel is your past. You hear what I'm talking about here, guys? This is big today. You are consciousness. You exist everywhere and in all time. You exist in all memories within the one mind. You exist in all memories within the one mind. And those memories exist within you. There's no separation. All that is, infinite intelligence, quantum field, the mind of God. True perception, unified perception, is the realization that you have existed in all memories across all time. Do you hear this? So what are you going to remember? Because you exist in all of them. You're a multidimensional being. There's no separation. So you're locking on all images that you feel are the only option. And you're recreating them when you live in them. Right? Because remember, they all exist within you. So you're just deciding, where do you want to live now? Because you have that decision. You exist in the here and now with all that is. The only question is, where are you choosing to live in consciousness now? Where are you choosing to dwell? As consciousness, you exist everywhere in all time. The only question is, with your thoughts, feelings, and beliefs, with your focus and attention, where do you want to live now? Do you want to keep living in that unwanted past? Or do you want to live in that desired, quote, future? It's all done. You get to choose what part of creation that you want to re-experience now. So big. So, and A Course in Miracles says, heaven is the decision I must make. In other words, this is what the scripture is always referring to as righteousness, the right mind, thinking in terms of what you want and moving there. And knowing that you exist within all of it, and it all exists within you, right? When you remember past hurts, pain, and grievances, or try to repress, suppress, or run away from these memories, you live in them. Do you hear this? So even when you say you've been triggered by something, or something's happened, then this means that you believe in that you're living in that already. Even if it doesn't come up consciously right now, you're living in it. Because you're trying not to remember it. You're saying that you're identifying with that, right? Remember, all those, your true identity is God. Your true identity is that higher awareness, a higher being, that I am. So when you identify with any memory, with any part of reality, you're taking it personal. You're saying that's who you are. That's not who you are. You choose to live there versus rising in consciousness and seeing merely that you exist there. As consciousness, you exist there. You exist everywhere. But where do you want to live? Right? You take it personal, and then you start living there. And then you start having thoughts and feelings about it, right? You fragment your memory by dividing up your experience as good or bad, or right or wrong. Right? I want to remember this because that was a good experience, but I don't like that. That's a bad experience. You see that? Only wanting to exist in the good, in the right experiences. And you choose that you don't want to exist in the memories that don't feel good. But here's the thing, you exist in all of it, your consciousness. So take it all in, but realize the whole of who you are, and then choose where you want to live. Right out of the knowing that you're God. Out of the conscious knowing that you're one with all that is, right? Choosing heaven is seeing it as a united whole, seeing yourself as a united whole, and not identifying with any of the memories as who you are. All of those memories, all of those potential realities are not who you are. In fact, they're all of you. You're all of them. You're higher than them. You transcend them through your higher self, through that God in you, through that I am. Right? You're one with that unconditioned awareness. That's so powerful today. So remember, the only question is it the reality of love, the eternal now, or is it the illusion of the waking dream or linear time? That's always the choice, but you can play here. If you know that you're the reality of love, if you know that everything's now, if you know you get to choose and play in the waking dream and in linear time. God, love, doesn't and did not create fear, pain, hurt, loss, suffering, and regret. Right? And this is what I was going over with my client. A huge breakthrough yesterday with this stuff. Because God doesn't create that. That's not who you really are. You're identifying with it. You remember, everything exists in consciousness. It all comes from consciousness, but you decide where you want to live, where you want to dwell, what you want to identify with, right? Misperception, fragmented view of all that is and all that you are. That's all that is. That's all that hurt and pain is. It's a fragmented perception of the whole, of who you really are. When you perform a miracle, this is what A Course in Miracles says. This is what Jesus says in A Course in Miracles. When you perform a miracle, I will adjust both time and space to adjust to it. That's how you bend time and space, because it doesn't exist. The miracle is remembering yourself as the reality of love. The miracle is remembering yourself as that multidimensional eternal being that could never be hurt, that could never fear anything, could never feel lost, never have regret or suffering. That's what we mean by what you dwell on is where you exist and live in consciousness. I am your host, Tom Caron, and this is the Be Something Wonderful studio of Higher Consciousness, where we help you level up and become the best version of yourself. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the notification button, like and share our videos. That's how we get our message out. You can follow us on Facebook at Be Something Wonderful. We have a group called the Be Something Wonderful Ambassadors. You can follow us there. You can join that group. It's an open group. And as a member, you can ask for guidance or an insight, or you can give guidance and insight. You can share your stories. It's a great group. You can find us at facebook.com/groups/Be Something Wonderful. You can also follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Tom Caron, or you can just visit our website anytime at tomcaron.com or besomethingwonderful.com, where all that information and more is there. Until next time, creators, with great love, with great light and infinite gratitude, this is Tom. See you soon.